And welcome to this town meeting preview. It's coming to you live this Wednesday. We're in PACTV studios. It's 6 p.m. and it's March 24th. I'm Steve Trifletti, Plymouth Town Moderator, and I am joined in studio with Assistant Town Moderator Nicole Manfredi and also Erica from, what's your first name? Erica. And she is the floor manager here in studio. The three of us are here. We're happy to be here. We're happy that you're here with us. We're happy that you can hear us after Monday night. And speaking of Monday night, I wanted to announce that the presentation night will be replayed on the following days and time. So overnight through Friday, April 3rd at midnight, 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. for those of you that can't sleep or are on a different schedule. Also Friday, March 26th, you can watch 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 8:30 p.m. Saturday, March 27th, 1 p.m., 7 p.m., and Wednesday, March 31st at 7 p.m. So a variety of times. It's online right now on YouTube. You go to youtube.com user PACTV video share. It's online Thursday morning, video on demand, pactv.org/video on demand. And currently, this preview tonight is scheduled to replay at 12 p.m. on Friday, March 26th, and there'll be more show times for the preview coming as well online on YouTube. Lots of opportunities to see the presentation night and to see the preview if you can't stay with us. We hope you will. The purpose of the preview is to give an overview of the motions that are coming up for town meeting. It's not to debate, it's not to deliberate. However, if town meeting members have questions, we have the availability of the voters. They could ask a question tonight regarding procedure, regarding motions, regarding where to get information. This time, we're going to again welcome back Nicole Manfredi. She's the Assistant Town Moderator. We're going to hear her opening comments. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to thank members again for your virtual participation. As I stated on Monday evening, last week we provided an additional training session for new town meeting members and members who requested a technology refresher. Participation and voting procedures will remain unchanged. If at any time this evening you need technical support, the help desk is available. The number is 774-773-6111. The help desk will be fully manned this evening, as well as throughout town meeting on April 3rd. Furthermore, I would like to encourage folks to monitor the chat this evening for important information and any communication. Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole Manfredi. And we do have some important information to share with you. So we do these nights and forums because we want to practice, we want to prepare for a town meeting. We need the practice because sometimes things don't go the way we expect, as happened on Monday, but that's okay. We got a chance to have some practice votes. We still got the presentation videos out to you with the 7 o'clock cable cast, and we got the repeat, so you haven't missed anything regardless of the technical glitches. Now tonight, we're gonna go back. Earlier today, if you haven't checked your email, you got the revised motions for town meeting. It came late this afternoon. We're going to go through them. First the special, then the annual. But on town meeting, we normally would start with some procedural motions for the annual town meeting. And before we even do a motion, we're going to practice by doing attendance tonight. For those of you that are new town meeting members, for those of you might have had problems the other night, we're going to take attendance. So Option Technologies is going to show that on the screen, and there it is. A yes vote is for present. PACTV has shown the timing 30, and the clock will begin, and you'll be able to vote. And so we're going to take, this is like the way in which it would be at town meeting. We're going to start voting as soon as the clock starts to run down from the 30 seconds. That's controlled by PACTV, the other voting part, and there we go. We see the clock ticking down. This is how it'll be at town meeting. You'll see the clock. You'll have time in which to think about what type of vote you want to cast. This is a very all or nothing. You're either going to vote your president or you're not. We're trying to give you an opportunity to practice. For those of you who can't register your vote, please call the help desk. or you can do a point of order here through the V-Voter. Now, at this point, the voting is ended. So for those of you watching, members of the public, town meeting members will have registered their votes. The polling is closed. We're waiting for the results, and the results show that 40 people have logged in so far. And now we show by precinct, 3 at a time, precincts 1, 2, and 3. We can see who's actually showing up. Precinct 3 is having a good attendance tonight. Precinct 1, not so much, but hopefully we'll see more. Again, Precinct 4, well represented. Precinct 5, my precinct, not so much. Precinct 6. So we get to see a record of who is either here or at least who is logging in as present. Precinct 7 and 9, and now I'm told that there are 55. So within moments of this vote, we're jumping from 40 to 55. We'll probably see it in the next practice vote because we're going to take several at the start of this meeting just to get town meeting members in the swing of voting. You're now seeing precincts 10, 11, 12 as we scroll through the precincts. Some of these precincts have one person, and 15 we don't see anybody. So hopefully we're going to start seeing some people from all the precincts. But that completes the initial use of the-voter. And now if you look at the procedural motions that are going to come before town meeting, the next one, which will really be the first one after attendance, would be whether to do remote. Well, we practiced that the other night, so we're going to skip that. But the next one we're going to do is to vote on the consent agenda. And although we're not going to debate that, and we can debate it at town meeting, because one of the articles, the 2/3 vote, despite what, well, you see here on this afternoon that it shows 2/3 for all, and some of these things historically have not been debated or discussed. Hearing reports, the salaries of officials, whether the town should accept funds from the state. So we're going to call on our friend here, Harry Helms. He is vice chair of the Advisory and Finance Committee. He is one of the panelists that has Zoomed in this evening. And as vice chair, he's going to be holding the fort for the Advisory and Finance Committee. So Harry, welcome this evening. And what do you have to tell us about the consent agenda motion?
The articles in the consent agenda are housekeeping items that have been grouped together for town meeting to consider and approve in a block. It is expected that if these articles were to be heard separately, separately by town meeting, they would not lead to discussion or debate, and that they would likely receive near unanimous support from this body. Each article was considered and analyzed individually by the Advisory and Finance Committee, and we recommend town meeting approve them all. The articles included in the consent agenda are Article 2, to hear reports of various boards and committees. Article 3, approve revolving fund spending limits. Article 4, continuation of certain committees. Article 6, set salaries of elected officials. Article 12, accept Chapter 90 funds. Article 13, town promotion fund appropriation. Article 14, amend Council on Aging revolving fund bylaw. Article 15, fund Title V repair loan program. And finally, Article 20, properly adopt stretch energy code consistent with last year's spring town meeting vote.
Thank you, Harry Helms. He is the vice chair of the Advisory and Finance Committee. We're now going to go to a vote. On the day of town meeting, of course, town meeting members can speak in favor or against this procedural motion, but to practice tonight, we're going to go ahead with this motion on the consent agenda. So you see it on the screen. It's a motion to approve the annual town meeting consent agenda. A yes, a no, or abstain. The timer is there. Let's get the clock counting down, and you can now vote. So town meeting members are going to be voting, and later when we see the screen, a yes vote will be a green, and a no vote will be a red, and an abstention will be a yellow. And we'll see how many more town meeting members have joined us as we do these practice procedural votes. Town meeting members are becoming very skilled and experienced. This is our third town meeting where we're going to be doing remotely based on the legislation from last year. The voting has ended. We're now waiting for the results. from Options Technologies. The polling is closed, and they're going to give us the results. 40 yes, 10 no, 1 abstention. If this were town meeting, it would have passed. However, nothing that we do tonight is controlling. This is practice only. And you'll see we have a variety of votes, from yes votes to no votes to people abstaining. And the public can see the votes, see the record, and they can decide what they would like to do, if they want to contact their town meeting members and speak to them about the way in which they vote, let them know if they agree with the vote, don't agree with the vote. But every vote at a remote town meeting will be a roll call vote. By the very nature of remote town meetings and being virtual, we're not having any voice votes. We're not having any standing votes. They're all going to be recorded. They're all going to be roll call, every procedural, every substantive vote. And as we now scroll down, we're going to be talking about what was to be the next procedural vote. And that's in your packet. And it says, motion to change the order of the annual town meeting, Article 21 to follow Article 22. And this would be a 2/3 vote. At any time in town meeting members can vote to change the order. They can advance an article, they can delay an article, they can move to reconsider an article. So if you have something that's important to you and it's at the end of the town meeting warrant, you should be there right at the start, because things may change. And in fact, tonight, right now, this is going to change. I was going to have Harry Helms tell us why we should vote to change the order, but I'm not going to do that, because since Harry and I met this morning at a motions meeting, I received an email at 5:59 tonight. It's from the petitioner. And for the first time, I'm going to announce to the public that the petitioner has withdrawn both articles from the warrant. And the reason they're being withdrawn is to provide additional time to better respond to suggestions and comments raised by town meeting members. This is from the petitioner for these two articles, so we can take out our pens and we can cross out this procedural motion, and we will mark further for these articles that they've been withdrawn. So with that, that's going to end the practice voting for the time being. We're going to go right to the motions, and on the morning of town meeting, we will recess the annual meeting after we do these procedural motions. We will go from the annual meeting to the special town meeting, and I'm going to start now, and this is again a practice and a preview. Article 1, no motion, so there'll be no action. Article 2, no motion, so there'll be no action. Before all this, by the way, we will also vote to determine whether to be remote in the special. We do that in the annual, we do it in the special. We voted the other night. We'll leave it at that for practice. Article 3, no motion, no action. Now we get to Article 4. And Mr. Canty moves the town appropriate the sum of $1,228,523.75 to pay cost of various capital projects listed in Article 4 of the 2021 special town meeting. Harry Helms, Vice Chair, Advisory and Finance Committee, your comments.
In a vote of 11-0 with 1 abstention, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 4. Approval of this article will authorize the capital expenditure requests for the special town meeting as outlined in the article language.
Thank you. And this particular quantum of vote is a majority vote, and of course it'll be a roll call. If anyone has any questions, I'll check the V-Voter. Town meeting members, if you have questions, we can refer you to those people who may be able to provide information at town meeting. And for example, with respect to this particular article, first with the water system, it would either be the water superintendent, Peter Gordon, or Jonathan Beater, the director of Department of Public Works. With respect to the airport, it could also be Jonathan Beater or Thomas Marr, the airport manager. And for the cemetery beautification, it could be Ken Keene as well as Jonathan Beater. So there are people who are available to answer questions between now and town meeting. I may not indicate on all the articles, but I want you to know that that's part of what we can provide you with tonight is information as to where to go and gather as you prepare for town meeting. Article 5 is withdrawn. Article 6, Mr. Canty moves the town appropriate $185,000 to pay for costs associated with conducting a town-wide fire department and fire station feasibility and facilities study. Harry Helms.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 6. Approval of this article will fund a town-wide study on fire station facilities, review potential sites for any future stations, and review the fire department's deployment methodology.
Thank you, Harry Helm. And at this time, this is also a majority vote, and it's a roll call vote. Fire Chief Edward Bradley is available to answer questions that town meeting members might have with respect to this article. Again, we're giving you main motions. There may also be motions to amend. In fact, I had a motion to amend on one of the articles that was just withdrawn by the petitioner. We also may have procedural motions that come up on some of these, and we'll try and let you know as much as possible. If we don't have them tonight and we get them prior to town meeting, we will endeavor to try to get you the information in advance as much as possible. I've been working with people throughout the day, throughout the week, in order to try to get you the most up-to-date final information, such as the withdrawing of those petition articles. Another petitioner, just hours before tonight's preview, finalized language in her motion. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. Right now, we're going to go to Article 7. Article 7, Mr. Canty moves the town vote to establish a special purpose stabilization fund for facility capital maintenance. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 7. Approval of this article will establish a building capital maintenance stabilization fund and authorize the town to transfer $2,500,000 from free cash into this stabilization fund.
Thank you. This is a 2/3 vote, as you can see. Of course, it'll be a roll call. Melissa Origi is our town manager. She's one of the panelists this evening, and she'll be available to answer questions with respect to this as well as some other matters. And in addition, we wanted you to know that in addition to being able to use vVoter, you can also use the chat. It's being monitored by the Assistant Town Moderator, Nicole Manfredi. Article 8. Mr. Canty moves that the town vote to amend the language of Article 9A 10, consistent with the vote taken August 10, 2020 town meeting, the sum of $247,100 from free cash. You have the text. I'm not going to read it all tonight. It's a majority vote. It's a roll call. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 8. Approval of this article will amend the language of Article 9A10, which was approved at the August 10th, 2020 town meeting in order to ensure the project is eligible for MSBA grant reimbursement.
And it's a majority in a roll call. We have with us on the panel Brad Brothers, and he is the school business manager. Welcome, Brad Brothers. Also, Dr. Christopher Campbell. He is the superintendent of Plymouth Public Schools. These are people who will be available to answer questions and provide information prior to town meeting. Article 9, Mr. Canty moves the town vote to authorize the select board to appropriate $80,000 for the purpose of construction of a pedestrian bridge. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 9. Approval of this article will authorize $80,000 of community preservation funds to be used for the construction of a pedestrian bridge on the property located off Billington Street.
Thank you. And it's a roll call vote, and it's a majority vote. And town meeting member and chair of the Community Preservation Fund, William Cohen, is available to answer questions. We also certainly encourage you to look at the presentation videos from presentation night. If you did not get a chance to view them, people took time in order to prepare the videos and tape them for your information. Next, we're going to move on. Article 10. Mr. Canty moves the town vote to authorize Select Board to appropriate $10,000 for the purpose of supporting the work of a charter commission. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 10. Approval of this article will set aside funds to be used by an elected charter commission in the performance of their duties, should an anticipated ballot question be approved by the voters of the town.
Majority vote, a roll call, and Melissa Arrighi, town manager, is available to answer questions. When I saw this, when I saw her letter, I thought, as an appointing authority of many charter review committees, I thought this was very good forward thinking to begin to provide some funding in advance if, in fact, there is a charter commission that moves forward. It looks like it will be on the ballot. Next, Article 11. Mr. Canty moves the town vote to authorize the Select Board to appropriate $1 million to the Nuclear Plant Mitigation Stabilization Fund. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 11. Approval of this article will authorize the town to transfer $1 million from free cash to the Nuclear Plant Mitigation Stabilization Fund.
Thank you. Lynn Barrett is Director of Finance, and she's available to answer questions. Following the presentation night on Monday, I did receive one question from one town meeting member regarding the Director of Finance. The question was forwarded. She answered it. It was made available to town manager. Town manager will include it in her report for all to see. There was a second question received with respect to the articles that were withdrawn, so there won't be any further response at this time. But any further questions that come to my attention that I forward will be copied to Catherine Holmes, the chair of Committee of Precinct Chairs, in order that she may distribute those responses if appropriate. Assistant Moderator Nicole Manfredi and I have talked about how to manage the emails that you receive from us in connection with town meeting, and in order to be sure that we don't inundate your inbox with too many emails, we're going to limit most of the emails to instructions from us as to procedure for this special and annual town meeting. But nevertheless, the information will come to you in a variety of ways. And at this time, we're going to move on. Article 12. Mr. Canty moves the town vote to authorize the Select Board to appropriate $697,473 to the Pavement Management Plan Debt Stabilization Fund. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 12. Approval of this article will authorize the town to transfer $697,473 from free cash to the Pavement Management Plan Debt Stabilization Fund for future use as it relates to road repair, maintenance, and/or construction in the town.
Thank you. It's a majority vote, a roll call. It's not unanimous. Again, Lynn Barrett is the Director of Finance. She's available to answer questions. Article 13 is withdrawn, so there'll be no action on that. But Article 14, Mr. Canty moves the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 206-1. Zoning bylaw amendments are a 2/3 vote. It's a roll call. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 14. The purpose of this article is to comply with the Department of Environmental Protection requirement that the Pine Hills Communities Zone 2 be added to the town's Aquifer Protection District Zone 2 map to include DEP's revised Zone 2 area for the Pine Hills well.
Thank you. And at this time, following this vote, unless there are any motions to reconsider, we would be moving to dissolve the special town meeting. And if it's a favorable vote, that would end the special town meeting, and you would not have an opportunity to go back to it once it's been dissolved. Following the dissolution of the special town meeting, we then, if there are no objections, go back to the annual town meeting, which was recessed. Throughout town meeting, a quorum is presumed unless someone questions the quorum. I'm not questioning the quorum this evening, it's not required, although at the very end, for those of you that are with us, we'll be taking a vote on a motion to adjourn just to see how many town meeting members we have involved in tonight's town meeting preview. And with that, we're going to move on to the annual town meeting warrant. And we're going to look at, we've already done the procedural motion, so we're going to start with substantive motions. Article 1, no motion, no action. Now, tonight, it was a favorable vote on the motion for consent agenda. So I'm going to treat this as if we have a favorable vote at town meeting. But I would let you know that if for any reason we don't, we would go through this, we would have discussion on whether to receive the reports of the boards and officers, we would take a vote, it would be a roll call vote, we would do 30 seconds for the vote, we would scroll through all the precincts. So tonight we're not going to do that. And just keep in mind, that's part of the purpose of a consent agenda, is to do the housekeeping articles in a bundle at one time so as to streamline town meeting and really then focus on those articles that really deserve and require more deliberation and attention from town meeting members. So the same is true with Article 3. That was included in the consent agenda, and that was, again, for the revolving funds. So that's in your packet. Article 4 is, again, something that happens routinely every year to continue certain committees. And Article 5, we have no motions, so there'll be no action. Article 6, again, we have the various salaries of the select board and the moderator, and that's in the consent agenda. Certainly, Article 7 is not. And you'll see here that under Article 7, the budget article, we have a total operating fund budget shown in 7A of $240,605,161. We have a number of motions that we'll be taking under Article 7. And at this time, we're going to hear from Harry Helm.
This would be Subcommittee Report A. The Advisory and Finance Committee analyzes the town budget in various subcommittees that each focus on a particular part of the budget. As we have for the past several years, we will be presenting the Advisory and Finance Committee budget recommendations to you by Budget Subcommittee report pursuant to a prior request by the town meeting to do so. We believe this will make the budget easier for you all to analyze and vote on. The first Budget Subcommittee deals with Budget Subcommittee A's section of the budget. In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstention, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in the Subcommittee Report A. Subcommittee Report B. Recommendation. You will be taking two separate votes on Budget Subcommittee B's section of the budget, but these remarks will cover both. In a vote of 9-0 with 3 abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve an appropriation of $597,583 for this section of the budget. This figure incorporates the Select Board's original budget recommendation of $76,657,734 for this section, a later $156,107 increase to the Information Technology Department recommended by the Select Board at a later date to add 2 positions to that department, and a $783,742 increase to the salary reserve line. This recommended by the Advisory and Finance Committee intended to prevent the need for any layoffs or furloughs of school department employees during FY22 while the school department continues to deal with the impacts and dangers to its operations caused by the ongoing pandemic. Subcommittee C, in a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report C. Subcommittee Report D, in a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report D. Subcommittee Report E, in a vote of 9-0 with 3 abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve the appropriation of $4,601,382 for this section of the budget. This figure incorporates both the Select Board's original budget recommendation of $4,564,172 and a later $37,210 increase to the personnel services line item recommended by the Select Board at a later date to restore the Memorial Hall manager position. Subcommittee Report F, in a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the budget as originally recommended by the Select Board and the School Committee of $104,233,676.
Thank you. And that's the various motions under Article 7A. They're contained in your packet. We're going to continue with Article 7B, and Mr. Canny moves the town vote to raise and appropriate, and you'll see the numbers here that are contained in your packet. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report G, the Water Enterprise.
Thank you. Again, Lynn Barrett is the Director of Finance. She's here this evening on the panel and also available between now and town meeting to answer your budget questions. She's also prepared a very comprehensive video. I believe it's about 46 minutes, and that's available also for you to read. Article 7C, to raise and appropriate $8,180, $180,507. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report G, the Sewer Enterprise.
Thank you. As we move on to 7D, again, reminder, tonight we're supported not only by PACTV, by a Zoom video conferencing platform, also the V-Voter platform from Option Technologies, and we have Christy Kenny from Option Technologies, who's here with us remotely, helping to support us. Article 7D, Mr. Kenny moves the town vote to raise and appropriate $748,848. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report G, Solid Waste Enterprise.
Thank you. And on the morning of town meeting, we'll begin promptly at 8 a.m. I will call a town meeting to order. Hopefully we'll have a quorum at 8 a.m. We do have some opening ceremonies. We're excited about some of the special presentations. And we'll continue throughout the day, as we did last year, a very brief lunch recess. And we expect to have a motion to adjourn at around 3 o'clock. Given the fact that there are holidays that are being observed by many people. And if we don't finish both town meetings, we do have the motion for an adjourned session, which we expect to be approved. It was approved the other night in the practice. We'll now go on to the next Article 7E. Mr. Canny moves town vote to raise and appropriate $2,465,000 $387. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report G, Airport Enterprise.
Thank you. At town meeting, you can make motions on the floor. However, if you know in advance that you want to make a motion, please call me, 508-746-1464. You can look me up on the internet for the office phone number, my email address, fst@plymouthlaw.com. You can also fax me. You could send a snail mail, although I don't know if I would trust it at this point to get to me in time for town meeting. So please, if you do have motions that you wish to make, if you do have questions, please contact me. Article 7F, Mr. Canny moves the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,590,000. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 12-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends approval of the Select Board's budget as detailed in Subcommittee Report G, the Cable Public Access Enterprise.
Thank you. It's a majority vote and a roll call if it is not unanimous. Article 8 is withdrawn. Article 9 is the capital outlay proposals. And you'll see we have the A items, and then we also have a B item. We separate them because of the quantum of vote. The quanta of vote for the items in A is a majority. For the one item in B is a 2/3 vote. So we separate it out. Harry Helm, Article 9.
In a unanimous vote of 13-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 9. The town manager recommends funding $7,592,363 worth of capital items out of $20.3 million in total capital items requested for FY22. The Advisory and Finance Committee agrees with this recommendation.
Thank you, Harry Helm. And we'll be taking separate votes and also giving town meeting members an opportunity to ask questions, to make motions on any of the items. Now, speaking of town meeting members, we have some new ones and we also have some vacancies, specifically in precincts 11, 14, and 15. I know that caucuses are scheduled between now and town meeting. We urge the various precincts, the chairs, the groups to work to fill those seats. Pearl Sears, the town clerk, is available to assist if you're not sure whether or not it's a matter of the next highest vote getter or how procedurally you'll fill the seat. But we want everyone to be seated prior to town meeting. We're hopeful that new members can be sworn in prior to town meeting, and then if you could be in touch with Nicole Manfredi, the assistant town moderator, she could arrange for training by having new members watch the training video. We can make sure that people are also have availability of a remote location. Again, as with last year's town meetings, Plymouth North High School will be an available venue for people who are unable to do the remote participation at their home or work. We are aware of at least one town meeting member who will be at Plymouth North High School. Again, if people suffer a power outage, if they have bandwidth issues or connectivity issues, as we experienced on Monday evening, Plymouth North High School will be an alternative venue for people who might need it. Article 10 is withdrawn. Article 11 is withdrawn. Article 12 is included in the consent agenda. And again, this is to accept money from the state. So that's why we included it. We thought that probably wouldn't be a whole lot of debate on that. But it would be a majority in a roll call, and we'd go through it if we needed to. Article 13 is included in the consent agenda. Same reasons, it's housekeeping, as is Article 14. Again, this allows us to focus on others that need our attention. Article 15 is in the consent agenda. Article 16 is not, and we have many motions onto Article 16. We're going to begin with Article 16A, and we have a motion from the Advisory and Finance Committee to appropriate the sum of $1,120,000 to grant to the Plymouth Housing Authority. Harry Helm.
In a vote of 12 in favor, 1 opposed, and no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 16A. Town meeting approval of this article will grant $1,120,000 to the Plymouth Housing Authority for the purpose of acquiring an affordable housing restriction for 16 deed restricted units of rental housing on the property located at 104 Carver Road.
Thank you. And for all of these motions under this article, we have the chair of the Community Preservation Committee, William Cohane, who's available to answer questions. It will be a majority, and as with all of these, a roll call vote. Now, 16B is moved. It's to revise the funding sources and thereby amend the vote that was taken under Article 9D of the 2018 Fall Town Meeting. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 13-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 16B. The purpose of this article is to pay off the remaining debt of $990,000 for the meeting house and avoid the added cost of interest payments.
Thank you. Town meeting members, you are reminded that you determine the length of the debate. I determine the scope of the debate. And therefore, if you wish to limit debate, you can move to close debate. Your V voter has the ability for you to click onto that. If I see that on the screen, the motion, all procedural motions will be giving priority over anyone who wants to speak in a substantive way on a particular matter coming before town meeting. If I do read that someone moves to close debate, I will also announce or show the queue of those people who may still have wished to be heard prior to the motion to close debate. It is not debatable. It requires a 2/3 vote. If it passes, we go right to the main vote. If it doesn't, we continue with the debate. And at this time, we will continue with Article 16C. Mr. Canty moves the town vote to appropriate the sum of $400,000 for the purpose of renovations and construction to extend the North Plymouth Seaside Rail Trail. Harry Helm.
In a vote of 12 in favor, 1 opposed, and no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 16C. Approval of this article will authorize $300,000 of community preservation funds to be used to formally connect the existing trail into the downtown harbor area and create a 10-foot ADA compliant trail.
Thank you. If a town meeting member wishes to reconsider a vote that occurred at town meeting, it would be necessary that either that town meeting member voted on the prevailing side of the original vote or find someone who voted on the prevailing side who's willing to move to reconsider. A motion to reconsider is debatable, and it is a majority vote, and it can come up at any time at town meeting. Again, if I'm notified in advance that you wish to move to reconsider, I would hear it. In fact, right now, 16D, no motion, no action. But before I go to 16E, if I had a motion to reconsider Article 7A, I would hear that because I'm going to give priority to procedural motions. But now we're going to go to 16E. And Mr. Canty moves the town vote to appropriate the sum of $190,520. Harry Helm.
In a vote of 12-0 with 1 abstention, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 16E. Approval of this article will establish an endowment fund payable to the Wildlands Trust for the sole purpose of overseeing the allowable usages of 24 separate conservation restrictions placed on various Town of Plymouth Community Preservation Act parcels to ensure their protection in perpetuity.
Thank you, Harry Helm. It's a majority vote, a roll call. Now, I've been talking about a number of procedural steps that town meeting members can take. Members of the public can talk to the town meeting members. Members of the public can actually speak at town meeting under the statute, provided that you contact the town clerk at least 48 hours in advance to let her know that you wish to speak. Once she qualifies you as a town resident eligible to speak, she will notify me and I'll make arrangements for you to have the credentials. In addition, available to you at our library is Town Meeting Time. This is the parliamentary handbook that has been adopted by the town of Plymouth for parliamentary procedure. So there are many copies available at the library. If you'd like to get a copy of them, it's available there. Certainly, our town charter is also instructive for a number of things. I have my hard copy, but you can go online to the town website and you can review a copy of the town charter. Now, town meeting members are spending a lot of time getting prepared for town meeting, and they have the report and recommendations of the Advisory and Finance Committee for the annual town meeting. There is also an operating budget book that has been provided, and I've been told that in addition, you'll be receiving some additional formatting of the budget prior to town meeting, along with the draft of the motions. And we have the report and recommendations for the special town meeting, all from the Advisory and Finance Committee. Lots of materials available to us. Now, as we continue, Article 16F, Mr. Canty moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,423,089. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 13-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approve Article 16F. Town meeting approval of this article will approve the FY22 CPC budget.
Thank you. And that's a majority vote, a roll call, and that completes the multiple motions that we have under Article 16F. And I'm looking here in my copy here of the various articles, and we have not only the motions, but we have the annual town meeting warrant available to us. And I'm seeing on the warrant copy that I have that there's nothing listed here for Article 17. Article 18 is withdrawn. Article 19 is a motion from Mr. Canty moving to vote to amend the zoning bylaw, section 206-2, in accordance with the final report of the planning board on the proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw and map floodplain overlay district. Harry Helm.
In a unanimous vote of 14-0 with no abstentions, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval of Article 19. Approval of this article will ensure that Plymouth's floodplain bylaw complies with federal requirements and allow property owners to continue to receive flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program.
Thank you. And that's Article 19. Again, these zoning bylaw changes, 2/3 vote, and again, a roll call. And for these, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. And with respect to this particular one, Lee Hartman is the Director of Planning and Development. He'll be available to answer questions that you might have between now and town meeting. And we're going to, at this time, move past Article 20 because it was included in the consent agenda. But you'll see here what the motion would be if, in fact, at town meeting we don't approve the consent agenda. You heard the discussion on that. And next, if we had successfully voted to change the order and have Article 22 before 21, we would hear that. But as I announced at the start of this presentation this evening, the petitioner has withdrawn Articles 22 and 21. And therefore, with that, we're going to move on into the warrant. And we have Article 23. Article 23, Miss Catherine Holmes, Precinct 8, moves the town vote to amend the general bylaws by adding in Chapter 23, Animals, a new Article 5, Pet shop sales of dogs, cats, and rabbits as follows. Now, this is a general bylaw. It's a majority vote. Zoning bylaws are 2/3. General bylaws are majority. There will be discussion. We're going to begin this evening with a brief explanation from the petitioner, Catherine Holmes, at town meeting. She'll have 15 minutes. Tonight, she's going to act as Harry Helm has done with the Advisory and Finance Committee, and she'll give a brief overview of this particular motion, followed by the opinion of the Advisory and Finance Committee from Harry Helm. And at this time, we want to invite in Catherine Holmes from Precinct 8. Catherine has joined us this evening. She is a town meeting member in Precinct 8, and she's prepared to speak about her petitioned article. And this is going to come before a town meeting as part of the annual town meeting. And we welcome Catherine Holmes to this town meeting preview. This is coming to you live on Wednesday, March 24th. We began at 6 p.m. This is being cablecast from PACTV studios. And in addition, we have town meeting members coming in on the Zoom video conferencing platform. We're bringing in Catherine Holmes. I believe she's probably logged
We are.
in.
Hi.
And there she is. We hear her voice.
Hi.
We
I'm having a
need you
little
to-
bit of.
We need you to turn on your
I'm
video,
having a little bit of.
if you
I'm
could.
having a video problem, so I'm going to keep my video off so I don't chew up a lot of bandwidth. If that's okay.
That's okay. Go ahead, Catherine.
Thank
Well-
you so much. I appreciate it. We've got a lot of other conferences tonight, which is, I think, chewing up our bandwidth. So yes, thank you so much for that. So I have put forward this article in the presentation forum. I was able to present what the details of the article are, and I will be presenting again, so you all be able to hear that again, which I think will be helpful, just to refresh everybody's memory on what it does and what it doesn't do. And so one of the things that led me through this process, when I talked to the select board, I got unanimous support and this new bylaw. It's a common bylaw. It makes a lot of sense. It protects the town, protects the community. But when we went before the Advisory and Finance, there was some concern regarding the length of the bylaw, that they felt that not everybody, there was several people that felt that it was the definition around retail wasn't strong enough, and it was loose enough that they felt that it wasn't protecting breeders. And this bylaw will have absolutely no impact on breeders, but we wanted to make sure that the language was stronger. So I worked with the attorneys that I'm working with on this article, and we were able to strengthen the language. So I put that forward in the motion. There was also some concern from Kevin Canty around whether we should be waiting for the state or the federal, legislature to put forward, a statewide or federal ban on puppy mills or dogs sold for puppy mills. And one of the things that I feel strongly about is that, as the form of government that we have, and as a local government, we have the power to be able to drive change when we need it. And we don't have to wait for the state and the federal legislation. In our form of government, town meeting members can do what I'm doing, which is to petition an article and say, this is what our town needs. This is going to protect our citizens and our community. And so, although, there are state and federal legislations in a lot of states that are passing about the ban of puppy mills, it's probably going to take several years for that to possibly happen here in Massachusetts, and I don't think we should wait. So as we did with the smoking ban in our restaurants to protect our citizens' health, and with the plastic bag ban, there's been a number of ordinances that we've had, as I talked about in my presentation, that protected us. That's why I'm putting that forward. So I didn't have to put that in the motion, but I did want to speak to one of the concerns of the advisory and finance did mention that they wrote up in the summary. Also, what I did to make sure that we were super protected in the bylaw, that we would be, if passed, be accepting, because as I had said earlier, it's already passed in Boston, Cambridge, Stoneham, Haverhill, Pittsfield. There's a Marshfield just passed theirs in the fall. I wanted to make sure that the language in here, because they were questioning the language, was strong enough. So I had it reviewed by the Attorney General. They made a couple of recommendations. They'll review it again after if it gets accepted, they'll review it again. But they did provide some feedback. I've made changes to the language in there that it's reflected in this motion. It's reflected of the Attorney General's recommendation. So that's what the motion is. And again, we can talk about it and debate it during town meeting. I really think it's common sense legislation, and I'm really hoping that everyone supports Article 23 and passes it. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Catherine Holmes. And for anyone that's having bandwidth or connectivity problems, Catherine, with a few words in the beginning, we couldn't hear from you. Please don't hesitate to contact the help desk. We can make arrangements that day, possibly even make a room available here if you're having connectivity problems at the place where you're having your connection. And with that, I'm going to go to Assistant Town Moderator Nicole Manfredi, who will again give us a reminder about the help desk.
So the help desk is available this evening and will be available throughout the day during town meeting. That number will remain the same. It's 774-773-6111. And on the day of town meeting, we will have space at Plymouth North High School. So if that's something you're interested in as far as having a tech buddy or getting some sort of technology support, please reach out to me. You'll be getting an email in the next few days. It will also be available for anyone mid-town meeting that's having imminent bandwidth issues. They'll be able to pop over there and access the meeting that way.
Thank you. And now we're going to go back to Harry Helm. At town meeting, the way it works is for these petitioner presentations, Catherine will have 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes to do her presentation. I think she's got some videos she may show, as well as add some additional comments. Then we would go to the Advisory and Finance Committee for their vote. Harry Helm.
As it currently stands, the recommendation of the Finance and Advisory Committee is as follows. In a vote of 4 in favor, 7 opposed, and 1 abstention, the Advisory and Finance Committee recommends town meeting does not approve Article 23. While the committee was overwhelmingly in support of protecting the health and welfare of puppies, kittens, and rabbits, there were notable issues with this bylaw. As written, the language is too broad and may lead to a ban on all breeders in Plymouth, when the intended purpose of the bylaw was just to ban the retail sale of these animals in the town. Further, the committee felt this article was the wrong tool for the right job, as while the state and federal governments are capable of implementing and enforcing regulations on breeders to prevent them from becoming inhumane puppy mills or to shut down existing puppy mills, the town of Plymouth is not.
Thank you. I received a question from a town meeting member through the chat, through the assistant moderator. You can also, town meeting members, use your vVoter tool if you want to be recognized for a question. This question is for Catherine Holmes. Again, another question for information. It's from town meeting member Richard Cirque. And Mr. Cirque asks the petitioner, when will we receive the amended text of the Article 23 bylaw? Now, I know, Catherine, we worked on it this afternoon, and you were amending the text from what we had earlier, and I believe that's up on the town website. But Catherine, I'll let you speak directly to town meeting member Richard Cirque's question. Catherine's no longer on. And I'm told from the studio she's no longer on. So what we'll do is we'll send the question to her, Mr. Cirque, and we'll wait her response. However, I can tell you that Catherine was at the motions meeting this morning. Throughout the day, she and town council and I worked together with her amended language. It was approved by town council. He had a few tweaks in terms of numbering and title, and I believe what you have before you this evening is the amended text, but we'll verify that from Catherine Holmes. Now, in addition, I want to go back to what was Article 17. It was omitted, and it should say in your packet that it was withdrawn. So that'll be corrected in preparation for town meeting. Article 17 was withdrawn. We have a request, first my phone number, 508-746-1464. In addition, a request to once again announce the replays for the presentation night as well as the preview night. So I will do that while we scroll through the final vote. The final vote for this evening is going to be attendance. And once again, Option Technologies will show us the vote on the screen. We're going to take a vote as to who is still present and with us nearly 1 hour into this town meeting preview. And you'll see we're going to do it in the form of a motion to adjourn. Yes, to adjourn. No, keep going with the preview. Or 3, abstain. And the voting is going to begin now. The clock will start to run down, and we're waiting for the timer to go, and that's being managed in the booth, and the time is going down. While you're voting, we want to know that there'll be replays on Comcast Channel 15, Verizon Channel 47. Overnight through April 3rd, each night, you can stay up. If you're not getting to bed, watch at 12 a.m., at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m. In addition, Friday, March 26th, at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., and 8:30 p.m. And the voting has closed on the motion to adjourn. We're waiting for the results. But also Saturday, March 27 at 1 p.m., 7 p.m. By the way, 45 people voted to adjourn, 1 voted no, 1 abstention, and we're also going to have, we're going to call in John Hammond to speak once we get through scrolling through the precincts. We'll bring him on. He's asked on vVoter. And even though we've moved to adjourn, we're going to hear from him Saturday, March 27, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m., Wednesday, March 31 at 7 p.m., and online at youtube.com, user PACTV video share, online Thursday morning as video on demand, and the town meeting preview is also scheduled to replay at 12 p.m. on Friday, March 26th. You can go to pactv.org for further information. At this time, we scroll through the precincts. We're going to go to Precinct 4, John Hammond. Mr. Hammond, welcome. And I understand you've asked to be heard on that last motion. Mr. Hammond, we'll bring in John Hammond from Precinct 4. And this is part of the town meeting preview. We're giving town meeting members an opportunity to vote. John Hammond, as we bring you in following this, go ahead and talk, Mr. Hammond. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
I actually made a mistake in the voting, and that's what did it. I did not ask to speak.
Okay, all right. And this is good practice for all of us. So thank you for joining us this evening. We also have Paul Cunningham, Precinct 8, who would like to speak. So let's bring in Paul Cunningham. Tonight has been an opportunity to try to practice our voting, practice some of the procedure.
Just about ready.
You look so cute.
And Mr. Cunningham, go ahead.
Wait.
I
We
need
can
to
hear
talk to
you.
Ben, so-
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So didn't
Paul
you-
Cunningham.
I'm about to.
We're hearing somebody coming through. We're looking for Paul Cunningham from Precinct 8, and we're being told that he's not coming through as a voice. So Mr. Cunningham, you might, what? We don't have him at all. So I'm wondering if that came through with someone else logging in his name and maybe his wife. But in any event, we'll try to determine what happened prior to town meeting. So these are the kinds of things that we're going to try to work on between now and town meeting. I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us. Thanks to Mark McKinley for being in the studio production booth. Thanks to Erica for joining us in studio. Nicole Manfredi, Assistant Town Moderator, who's been working hard getting ready for town meeting. I'm Steve Trifletti, Plymouth Town Moderator. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. And please come back on Saturday, April 3rd, 8 a.m. Good evening.